Hello and welcome to the Virtual Jewish Thought of the Week. This is Rabbi Dan Lewin speaking to you from Dallas, Texas. This week in the Jewish calendar, on the day of the 18th of the month of Elul, is an extremely significant day in Jewish history and Hasidic tradition. It marks the birth of the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, in the year 1698, the area of Poland. And 50 years later, one of the Hasidic masters, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the founder of the Chabad Hasidic tradition, was born on the same day. So what we're going to do today is just take one small idea from the innovation of the Baal Shem Tov and apply it to our lives. The Baal Shem Tov came onto the scene, so to speak, at a very dark time in Jewish history. The Jews of his surrounding area had just been decimated. The community had been completely ruined after the pogroms, financially ruined. Their morale was very low. And one of the things that he came to do was to revive the spirit and the faith of the Jewish people. So one idea is his contribution in faith. Another idea has to do with the mind. He introduced a new system of thought, the Hasidic perspective, whereby classical Jewish texts could now be illuminated through the mystical perspective in order to invigorate a culture that had become stale. The other primary pillar for which he stood and major innovation contribution to the Jewish world was the idea of the heart. So the faith, the mind, and the heart. What was the idea of the heart? It was the idea of what's called Avas Yisrael, love for one's fellow Jew, based on the biblical text, Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha, the commandment to love your fellow as yourself. This was the other major contribution of the Baal Shem Tov. Now, why did he need to innovate that to the Jewish community of his time? They were very observant. They knew about the mitzvahs. There were plenty of Torah scholars. And the answer to that is, on a subtle level, there was a lack of appreciation for every individual and a type of class system whereby those valued individuals, in this particular time, it was the Torah scholars. So the way that people today look at the CEO and the celebrity and the athlete, you want to be around them and it's a big deal. So in those days in the Jewish community, a Torah scholar was the prized possession. And those that didn't make it, so to speak, in the religious world, they were just simple individuals. On a subtle level, there was a type of judgment, in a sense of differentiation, a class system. These are the worthy Torah scholars, and this individual, I'll be kind to him, I'll be hospitable, I certainly need to follow the rules, I certainly need to obey the Bible. But there's still, in this case, a division, a differentiation between people, a judgment going on. And the Baal Shem Tov came to introduce the idea that you can never fully know the worth of any individual, and every single person has tremendous qualities that other people don't have, and together as one whole people, everybody completes everybody else. And not only that, that sometimes we can look at somebody that is simple and that is not our type, and is somebody that may be not as successful. But nevertheless, the way that that person looks at life and looks at God and looks at the world is much more pure and sincere than the intellectual and the sophisticated person that thinks that they know what's going on. So one of the major messages that the Baal Shem Tov sent to people was that there's a big difference between being a nice person on paper, doing things in action, and actually having an appreciation for people and making an effort to invest in relationships. When it comes to one's family, it's very easy to say, I'm devoted to my family, I love my family, I want to make sure that I provide for my family, and I'm a good wife or a good husband, and so forth. Okay, I know who my close friends are. I know what my ambitions are in my career, in my profession. So all of that, I put a lot of time and effort and attention to growing and progressing. But then comes the question, what about the broader relationships? What about the person that we don't initially appreciate? We don't like the way they dress, we don't like the way they look, they're interested in other things, the stranger that we encounter at the grocery store. What about all these little relationships, these everyday relationships? Are we ambitious in this area? The message of the Baal Shem Tov, perhaps for us, is that when you monitor your career, and when you monitor your ambition, I want to be a great scholar. And when you even have spiritual ambitions, I want to be the best I can be and relate to God in the best way. When it comes down to it all, one of the major questions you have to check, that you have to ask yourself, is what about my heart? What about my general appreciation and dealings with people? Because this is perhaps the most important area. But the question that comes up from all of this is, okay, now I understand the importance, but how do I get there? And for that, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, who continued the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, gave precise instruction and method about how to achieve true appreciation of every single individual. At length, he discussed the whole system of how to get there, and that we'll continue with next time. Thank you for watching, for your time. If you like this, please forward it to anyone you think would be interested. If you would like to dedicate or sponsor a video, you can email me at the address below, and I look forward to speaking with you next week.